What's up, people, and welcome to This Week Inside the CLB. My name is Rayvon. I got my man Griff, and we got a special guest, one of the top head coaches and people all around in the league. It's my man Dez. What's up, Dez?
What's up, y'all?
How you doing, man?
I'm good, just winning.
So look, first we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna talk about your team's victory. Your team is 9-0. You haven't lost. You look really good. Talk about the game against the Young Gunners.
They were one of the, I think they were one of the bigger teams in the league. So I had to have Parker's little brother come today, kind of, just, in case Parker got in foul trouble. They had two scores, really, well, three. Chris Keith, Cody, and Brandon. And, that was my focus, was just mainly, I can let one of them get going. Brandon, I think Brandon had 20 or something, but we got to, stop 2 out of the 3. And them being ex-players, too, I kind of knew who to put on them. I had Dominique experiment on Chris Keith, and I alternated people on Cody. I thought there was a harder matchup out of the two.
So we're going towards the end of the season. You guys are 9-0. Got a big matchup coming up with the East End.
Yep.
Whoever wins that game will have the #1 seed. What do you think about the East End and going into the playoffs? What do you think about your team's chances? Be honest, Dez. You got to keep it real, dog.
Well, let's just start with, we're going to win it,
Okay.
Whether we win or lose next week, the East, that was the game I had circled. I go game by game, but I kind of knew, looking at the schedule, it was set up that we would be playing for the #1 seed. I don't honestly think they're going to beat us. I don't think, and it's, bulletin board material, whatever, but I'm looking at the makeup of the teams. Going to my bench, I'm a little more comfortable than they are from watching them. And, our size, I think, will play a role in the game. They're guard heavy. A lot of them, a couple of them were supposed to be on my team till they get in.
There you go, Dez. You always try to get all the players, Dez. Everybody can't play for GOC, dog.
When Griff set this up, that's the first thing I was waiting on. He just gave me 160 players to pick and choose from. I mean, I hate it for Premier, but Parker play with. I just like to win. It's as simple as that. And if I got a spot, I feel like I can make my team better with an adjustment. I mean, that's what I'm gonna do.
I gotta give it to him though, because one thing Dez does, he's not like the rest of the coaches in the league. They'll play a game in the league, you might watch 1 or 2. Dez is here from the gym opening to the gym league. He's a gym rat as a coach. He only lost 2 games in the city league, but at the same time, you can say what you want about it. He always has a nice team that's gonna compete. You know what I mean?
Every single time he has guys that shows up. Dez is a huge asset to the CLB. Last question, Dez, real quick. If there's one team that scares you going into the playoffs, who do you not want to see?
From our side?
No, from the whole league. There's 15 other teams in the league besides GOC. Who do you not want to see in the playoffs?
Team Hustle?
Team Hustle.
Honestly. I mean, and this ain't no disrespect to the other teams, but it's just from playing them before. They know how to, it's kind of like that's kind of like our rivals at Mid-America. Like, we probably have 10 championships if they went out there. They don't get caught up in the hype. They show up and play. They're professionals. And they're my pick to come out of this side. And that's really who I don't want to see. I'm pretty fine with the other ones. Not saying they're not going to be good games, but I will not want to play Team Hustle.
Shout out to Carlos, Norfolk Pool, the rest of those guys, bro. Mike Cena, he's put together a really good team. They are dangerous. You might not want to see them. So we had some really, really good games this weekend. We had a couple of overtime games. We even had one game that went into double overtime. We'll get into that in a second. But let's talk about the Bad Boys and Get Buckets. Now, in this game, the Bad Boys have started the season off. They had lost their first 6. They have won 2 in a row. Get Buckets has started the season off 0-7. They was the best winless team ever. But then they come back and they win 1. And these 2 teams had to play. Either there was going to be a 2-game winning streak for Get Buckets, or the 2-game winning streak was going to end for Bad Boys. In this game, Bad Boys, they came and they started out a little slow. Get Buckets got out early and they got the victory. 2-game streak for Get Buckets. I've been saying all year long that if you're a top seeded team, you don't want to see this team come playoffs. Griff, what do you think about that game?
I think they finding their stride. you know, with so much talent on that team, they finally got that taste of a W, and you know, it's kind of growing on the team. Everybody's kind of showing up. They starting to be here on time, and you know, I think that, like you said, you don't want to see get Buckets first round, because they're gonna be one of those teams that don't have a whole lot of wins, but might, if they get it all together and get all their pieces here, they might be able to compete for a championship.
Anytime they have their whole team assembled, they play really, really well. And Perrin played some pretty good basketball last week. If you hadn't been here and you'd just say, well, who is this guy? You would think that Perrin is one of the top guys in the league. And when he's playing and when he's healthy, he is one of the top players that we have in this league. So Ricky Wright, he played well. He has some big free throws down the end. The Blev, he just does what he does. The Demetrius Blevins, he just
Jamari's
gets rebounds.
starting to hit his stride. He had 23 and 5. So.
I really like Jamari. Jamari's a difference maker for them. When Jamari's in, like you said, he had 23 and 5 this weekend. When he comes in and when he plays, he's a big difference for those guys. Brandon, he hasn't even hit his stride yet. So Brandon is due to have a breakout game sooner or later. I really like Get Buckets. So shout out to Get Buckets. They're in a 2-game winning streak. Swell was hitting me up right before I came over here. He's trying to figure out where the seeding is going to end. He said, man, if we win next week, we might get a 6 seed or something like that, which would be really good considering that they started the season out 0-7, but they go into the playoffs with a 3-game winning streak if they can win next week. In the game of the year so far, and I circled this game at the very beginning of the year, I thought that these two teams would meet at this point and be undefeated. Didn't quite work out that way. But we had an instant classic, a double overtime game between By Any Means and Kentucky Heat. Des, what did you think about that game, man?
Man, I really didn't know who was going to win it.
I didn't either.
People kept asking who I had, and I would tell one person By Any Means, I'd tell the other person Kentucky Heat. I personally was rooting for KY Heat to back By Any to give us some space just in case we do slip up next week. But they play again, and it could be the exact same score, but By Any Means, 87 and Kentucky Heat 81. I don't know. That was a good game. I didn't think it was gonna be. I thought one would blow the other one out, honestly.
Really? I didn't think it would be a blowout. I knew it was going to be close. I didn't pick a team either way. I didn't think it was going to be a blowout. Griff, what you think about that game? Went into double overtime, and it all changed when the MVP, Nate Johnson, fouled out with about 3 minutes to go in regulation. They were up by, I think, about 5 or 6 when he fouled out with 3 minutes to go in regulation, and it all changed. What happened?
It was a good game. I think both teams got out on each other no more than like 6 or 7 points. And, you know, it was a battle of great city competition. Most of those players, you know, former high school standouts on both sides of the ball. So I knew that was going to be a good game. Anytime you got Nate Johnson and Derek Anderson competing against each other, you know, because of the dunk, it's always going to be a rivalry. With that being said, and you know, KY Heat, they came to play. They lost 2 games to 2 teams that they weren't supposed to lose to. You know, and I think they hit their stride for the playoffs as well.
By Any Means, they started out the season, I think 6-0. They hadn't lost a game since last year. They had been ranked number 1. But we started to see a couple of chinks in the armor. And now they've lost 2 out of 3. And then the 4th week, they had a rough game that week in a game that they probably should have lost to Game for Sale, but they found a way to win that game. They're not playing well at the right time of the year. They're on the downslide, so to speak. They had a couple of guys that haven't come the whole season that had some shake-ups and some mix-ups in their lineup. Bukar wasn't here the other day. He's their biggest defensive threat, and with him not being there, that kind of diminishes their bench a little bit. So he was a big loss. So that was really, though, a really good game. And you got to give credit to Matt Wilkinson, Tony Johnson. I think T-Walk played an excellent basketball game on the defensive end. He's really stepped it up defensively this year. I liked what he did. And then they had a fully loaded roster. They had Chauncey, they had Matt, and they had Grimes. And when they have those 3 guys, that's a lot of size there.
Mayo too.
And Mayo. So they have a lot of size. When I first saw the rosters at the beginning of the year, I thought the Kentucky Heat would be the team to beat. They lost a couple of games. Right now we have them at 7-2. But do you want to see them in the playoffs, Dennis? Nah, you don't want to see those guys.
He split up my Splash Brothers. I had Wes and Rich Homie this summer, and BA got in his ear. You know, he was supposed to be with us on it, but you know, it messed up that's one of my splash brothers. He's one of probably the one shooter in here I probably fear the most that ain't on my team. It's probably Will West the fifth.
Yeah.
So, you
Don't move. We'll be right back with the top 10 on this week's Inside the CLB.